we're going to just de facto legalize drugs in Washington state, which is the worst possible idea I can think of. The following segment is brought to you by our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. Make sure while you're there you sign up for their newsletter so you can get notified about important opportunities to make your voice heard on critical issues. Now, I was watching the debate late into the evening on the last day of the legislative session yesterday as they were deciding whether to pass this truly weak, watered-down solution to the Blake decision. And, as much as I was annoyed with some of the Democrats who voted against it because they thought it went too far. I mean, you actually had Democrats who thought this weak version of the bill went too far in criminalizing substance abuse. I will say I was kind of equally as annoyed with Democrats who were standing there in support of it and acting completely frustrated that it had come down to that point. Acting completely baffled as to why on the last day of the legislative session, there would be a possibility that they wouldn't pass a bill and that starting July 1st, drugs would be de facto legalized. Here is just a couple clips.
My city and the cities that are in that East Puget Sound region are asking me, Larry, please do something. Your vote, Representative Springer, a no vote on this bill is to say to them, I don't care.
I'm voting yes because I'm fearful of what this bill failing would do to my community and to communities across the state. This bill failing and my desire to vote yes is because I fear that drug use will be different on one side of the street than it is on another.
And there were so many Democrats who supported this watered-down fix, whose remarks on the floor of the House sounded just like that. They say they're scared, they're fearful about what de facto decriminalization of drug possession could do to their communities. They say they're hearing from their constituents, please do something. And the reason that annoys me is we never should have been in that position in the final hours of the 2023 legislative session. Need I remind you that Democrats had to add one word, just one word, to our drug possession law to avoid all of this. When the Washington State Supreme Court struck down our felony drug possession statute in February of 2021, they said they did so because the law that was on the books did not have the word knowingly, that it didn't require the state to prove that someone knowingly possessed illegal drugs in order to convict them. So after, in February 2021, the law was struck down, lawmakers in Olympia that same year, led by Democrats, could have made one simple addition to the law that would have avoided all of this. They could have added the word knowingly, and this would have been done. Drug possession would have continued to be a crime in Washington state, and we could have all moved on. Instead, it was the decision of Democrats to try to water down the law. It was the decision of Democrats that they no longer wanted drug possession to be a felony. They wanted to look at a different way to pursue this issue, which is fine, but 2021 goes by without a real fix, 2022, and then 4 months of the 2023 legislative session when you knew that if you did nothing, then July 1st we'd have de facto legalization of drug possession. And you want to sit on the floor of the House in the final hours of the legislative session and act upset? Act upset with people who are going to vote against that bill because they didn't think it went far enough? Let me show you again. You remember we had Jonathan Cho, our friend at the Discovery Institute, on the show last week, who'd spent some time in downtown Seattle. Do I have to remind you of the horrors playing out on the streets of downtown Seattle? People taking a drug that is literally rotting away their flesh, something called tranq that's leading to amputations, a mixture of fentanyl and animal sedatives. What used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world, what it has become. And so, yeah, it is terrifying. And I am scared about what could happen starting July 1st in Washington state when we have hundreds of people in King County alone overdosing every single month. But for those Democrats to stand on the House floor and blame anyone other than their own Democratic colleagues is absurd to me. It's gaslighting. It's dishonest. They could have fixed this issue, the entire controversy around Blake, 2 years ago, in a moment, had they exercised common sense and said, hey, all we need to do is add one word to make this law constitutional again. But no, they wanted to continue the effort to decriminalize things, to reduce punishments for people who are breaking the law. And that has led directly to what's playing out on our streets. So look, I share their fear and disappointment that we're in this position, but they truly have no one to blame but themselves. That segment was brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. I am proud to be an ambassador for Future 42, which is trying to right the ship in Washington state and bring a little bit of balance back to things, which also would have helped us avoid this situation entirely if there was a little bit of balanced government.